Help. H-E-L-P. I think my multimeter's calling out Morse code. Honey, we got sound!
I'm Mike Dimas, and this is Pinball Shenanigans.
I'm back, and still feel like poop, but I think I got enough energy to put in an hour or so on Galaxy. In the last episode, I rebuilt the pop bumpers, and in this episode, I'm going to drill out these little holes for the screws so I can put in my pop bumper caps without splitting the bases here, because these screws are just bigger than these holes and I don't want to crack the bases. And then I think what I'm going to do is kind of do a little refurb job on the solenoid driver. Do a couple ground mods, probably change out this capacitor, even though it has been changed at some point. I don't know what year though, it could have been 20 years ago. And then we'll check the header pins and reflow them and just give it a little bit of a once over. We know the power supply is good because I replaced it. We know the CPU is good because it's brand new. We don't know much about the sound yet. We do know that sound works, it's just I can't adjust the volume, so I'm going to check on that after. But I'm going to save that for later, the sound. Lamp driver is all good. We're plucking away at this kind of in different random portions, doing like playfield, then a board, then pop bumpers, then another board, then sound, then, you know, just kind of all over the map for the most part. But it's coming together. So I think for the hour that I have, I'm going to hope to finish at least with the solenoid driver and pop bumpers, and that'll be a nice little small dent in the project there. So that's the goal, and let's get to it. Okay, so I started drilling and I realized I don't think I need to drill, so I just kind of retested the screws and they're just really snug. So I busted out the old power tool instead of the old hand bomber. And if I kind of work the screw in a little bit, then I don't break anything, but it's just on there really snug. So that's all it is. All right, we have pop bumper caps. Let's turn on the machine, see how it looks. And I'm just realizing right about now, my soccer teammates are at Chuck's Roadhouse drinking beer without me. I'm supposed to be on the pitch and afterwards going out for some beers, and I would have loved to have done that, but I'm a little under the weather and not exactly feeling up for running around for an hour, although it's probably the best thing for me. But at the same time, I don't want to, you know, get all my teammates sick, so staying home and doing pop bumper caps, which actually look really good. You know what? Now we should test them and see how well they work. So let's start a game here. Looks like I need to add a credit. Where's my credit adding tool? Here it is. Slide that into the slot here. That should do it. And now, there we go. Okay. I'm looking forward to getting the sound working. I'm still debating on whether I should add on the Galaxy 2.0 kit that has sound, music, callouts, new rules. I mean, it's 170 US, so call it 300 Canadian all in. So for 300 bucks, you can kind of get a whole new experience. It's pretty tempting, and I may just do that. Okay, we have to also do this without breaking any of these LED bulbs. Okay. Oh, geez. That's dangerous. Oh, man, my light bulb is flaky. Pop bumper's working good, though. What about these guys? Oh, yeah, nice and active. They're beauty. Okay. I just got to deal with that light bulb up here. Now that these screws are in there friggin' tight as F. Make sure these guys are good too. I think so. Okay, well, that's a success. Minus that bulb, I'll deal with that. And then we're gonna pull out the solenoid driver. Alright, so pop pumpers are officially done. And as a matter of fact, I will take pleasure in doing this to all of the old parts. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. And bye-bye. And that display you see in there, it's for Gottlieb System 1 and 80 games. If you ever see a white dot in the corners, that means it has been gassed out, so it is garbage. Otherwise, they would have black in the corners, so that's why you see that in there. Anyway, pop pumpers are done. Hooray. I don't love them. Okay, so this capacitor is the first thing. So I read that the factory value is 20 volt, 11,000 UF. So maybe this is factory. It's possible. Or someone replaced it with an exact replica at some point. I'm going to replace that with an upgraded 15,000 UF 25 volt cap. And that will be a good improvement. This potentiometer here, I don't think I'm going to replace that, but I'm definitely want to adjust my voltage there to about 185 volts for the displays. They usually run around 190, but if you drop them just a little bit in voltage, kind of preserves the displays a little bit. So I'll go, once this is all said and done, adjust that and try and make sure I'm at about 185 volts. And then there are about 3 modifications that I typically do on the back side, but 2 of these are already done. It's the negative side of this capacitor. You just tie that to another ground, which someone did way over here. It's not the best, you know, there's too much slack in this line for my liking. Maybe I will get rid of the slack, make that a little better. And then the same thing for this other filter cap here for the displays. You tie the negative leg to ground. Just makes the ground much more happy and less prone to failure. Oh, look at this. This looks like someone possibly marked a 1 here and a 3 here to indicate the test points, which is good because I want to tie those 2 test points together. They're both 5 volts. It's another recommended thing to do. Tie these together and it just strengthens up your 5 volt. So there's test point 3. 1 and 3. Did I say 5? That's the one you want to avoid. Do not tie test point 5 into this equation. You want test point 1 and test point 3. Tie those together, and it does look like they are labeled there. So from my old Harlem Globetrotters from years ago, apparently. And then the other last thing we're going to do, let's zoom in here, is reflow these headers. Just looking to see if there's any cracks or, you know, any holes in the solder. Doesn't look too bad, actually. I wonder if I did that once upon a time. Doesn't really look like it, but maybe. Yeah. I'm gonna do it anyway. Oh yeah, look at that. That does not look very good, does it? Neither do those guys. So I'll go around all the headers. These are the bigger 0.156 headers. It's looking a little sus too, isn't it? Let's zoom in even further. maybe not as bad as I thunk. Yeah, so we'll do all those guys, 0.156 headers, and then I'll bust out my reading glasses so I can do these without bridging them together. That's always fun. And then I will be happy with this board after all that is said and done. So let's get to it. Alright, I think I'm done doing my upgrades. These are the reflowed pins. They don't look too bad. Over here, I checked all the transistors. They all test okay. That doesn't look too bad. My 0.100 pins, though, they look like crap. These are still 0.156, the big pins. Those are easy to do. I don't even want to show you my 0.100 pins. They look like little volcanoes. That is just horrible. I don't think I did myself any favors on those guys. Up here, it's a bit of a disaster too. But I checked my traces and I don't think anything is touching. But yeah, that is just not very good. Tied test point 1 to test point 3 using the excess wire from this guy here. Snip that off, got rid of the slack. So I got my 3 mods there. In theory, reflowed pins should be better, at least the bigger ones. These ones here, I'm not sure what I did wrong there, but maybe I need some flux or clear off the old solder first, but I'm not exactly thrilled about it. But I'll plop this guy in and test the voltages. There's the new cap. Looks good. Like I said, I tested all these guys. I used like, I don't know where it is, but like 400 or 600 grit piece of sandpaper to kind of just get the crust off of the male header pins. So as long as my voltages are good, then I imagine these pins are fine. So I'm going to pop this guy in and we'll do that. Alright, let's turn this guy on. Make sure we got no smoke or fire. Just got the solenoid driver plugged in. Oh, I lied. I got my CPU plugged in too. Okay, hopefully everything's good. It appears to be good, otherwise I would get an over voltage light, red light come on there. Okay, so let's check our high voltage here. Ooh, interesting. When I touch that, I hear the speaker make some noise. What are we at? 243 volts? Really? I thought we want to be more like 190. Let's check this one here. What is that one? Oh, that's 182. Okay. I have to double check which one. I'm assuming this test point 2 is what I want at about 185. And the upper one, it's interesting how I hear the speaker going. What is that test point? 242. Okay. So those voltages are fine. Let's check our test point 3, which is tied to test point 1 now. 5.1. It's perfect. Test point 1 is in here. It's also 5.1, as it should be. Test point 5, I forgot what this is. Is that 12 volts? Yeah, it is. Okay. So, I think my voltages are happy. We can zoom out a bit, actually. We can check test point 6 and 7. I think those are both also 5 volts. 5.09, so that's pretty good. Only lost like 0.01 volts between test point 1 and 3. This is test point 7, same kind of thing there. Okay, I'm happy with that. I might turn up test point 2 to about 185. I don't want to run the displays too low. How are they displaying? They're displaying just fine. Okay, so I'm done for tonight, but not this episode. I am going to come back tomorrow and we're going to try and get this thing to have sound, and then we'll wrap up this video because this is only like 10 minutes so far. So I'll be back tomorrow. All right, tomorrow is here. Feeling a little better. I think I'm getting over the hump of this cold. And let's see if we can get some sound on this Galaxy once and for all. So what I've read is that the thing I should be checking for, if you didn't see any previous videos, basically I can hear the sound, but it's just really, really quiet. Adjusting the volume pot does nothing. Changing the soundboard does nothing. And changing the ribbon cables did nothing to improve the sound. So from my post on Pinball Repair Help Group, most people and myself are strongly suspecting this pot as being bad. So there's a way we can test that, and that is what I am going to do right now. Now, don't know if I'm going to need some alligator clips or not, but we'll see if we can test it with one hand. So we're putting our multimeter on ohms here. One lead on each of the pot's legs. It kind of seems to be touching, so it might be okay. And then we're going to adjust our volume pot, and nothing seems to be happening. So I'm either not touching these guys very well, or the pot is bad. So right now, oh wait, here we go. Is that me? What's happening? Why am I getting some... Okay, what I think I need to do is get my second hand into the equation here, and then see if I can make any numbers happen. Oh, here we go. Look at this. So we got 79 ohms all the way up, and I hear, okay, I'm turning it to the left slowly. It's kind of weird. 27 k ohms, so is that like 27? Now I'm turning it to the right. It's going down. It's like k ohms. Then once you turn it all the way up, it's just the ohm symbol. And then there's an M. It's like M ohms there. So it's like micro ohms or mega ohms, and there's K showing up on the screen. It's like kilo ohms, or I don't really know what it all means. But turning the pot does do something, so can I suspect the volume pot now? I'm not sure what it all means, but I think I have a good pot, so maybe we'll test that and see how that behaves. Okay, I found another pot in my little goodie switch bin. Looks to be never used, so let's kind of see what happens here. I did briefly look. K ohms I believe means kilo ohms. M ohms I believe means mega ohms. Does that help me translate anything? Not really. But let's turn it all the way to the right. We got 14 kilo ohms. I believe that's what that means. I will turn it to the left slowly. Okay, it's moving. Let's go all the way. 108 kilo ohms. So I don't know. The other potentiometer seems to be working. I mean, I would expect that the numbers wouldn't move at all if it wasn't working. So I guess I'm going to have to rule out the potentiometer. This is a 1000K potentiometer. I wonder what the one in there is, and if I could just pop this in there just for fun. I mean, I just got to solder 2 wires to it, and I could test that just to see. So I'm going to see what kind of potentiometer this machine calls for. Alright, it may be my lack of skill at reading schematics, but I don't see the value of the volume pot. I see a reference here. It's not located on a PC board because it's located in the bottom of the cabinet, but I don't really see what value that is anywhere. So I will scour a little closer, but I may just pull off the potentiometer and see if it says right on it. I imagine it would. Alright, I removed the potentiometer out of its bracket, and there's some part numbers on the back. 25A-16-2 1377942. So maybe I can find out by plugging in those numbers into the Googles. What do we got in here? Oh, a little piece of glass from an old busted bulb and a little piece of wire. Huh. A little piece of solder. I wonder if this piece of solder was somehow touching the bottom of this, touching the speaker grill, causing some funkiness. While I have this out, I could also just spray it with some cleaner. I think I got proper contact cleaner in here somewhere, or WD-40. Oh, is this it? There we go, electrical contact cleaner. You know, this definitely doesn't hurt, so I'll give that a spritz. I'll be right back. Alright, gave it a clean with spritz, and I twisted it back and forth 20 times. And hey, maybe we'll have sound. That'd be pretty sweet if that's all it was, but I don't have very high hopes. I can hear it very, very vaguely. I don't know if you heard the 7 bongs, but I could hear them. Okay, yeah, it's not looking too promising. I can hear the sound, but yeah, no go on that. Okay, I may swap out the potentiometer anyway just to see. I may switch these wires to go into the potentiometer. Don't think that's going to do anything, but I'll check that. Maybe pop in the other one, and then maybe swap the speaker. Okay, so I borrowed Magic's schematics because it has the same setup as Galaxy. Found the sound schematic for the SB100 soundboard, and look what I found. Right here, speaker is not located on the PC board, pot not located on the PC board, and it says 25k ohm potentiometer, and I'm like, did I overlook that? Like, is that how bad my vision has gotten over the years, where I was looking online and I'm like, that would be extremely shenanigandous, but it was not there, so I didn't overlook it. It just doesn't show it in that particular section. So this pot is not technically the right pot, but I think it might work, so I may wire that in there anyway. I just soldered on this 100k ohm potentiometer, and I'm going to turn on the machine. If we hear the 7 bongs loud and clearly, the 7 startup bongs, then we know the problem is resolved. So let's see what happens. I do not have high hopes for this one. I'm hearing the bongs, but they're very low. Start a game. Hit some switches. Yeah, I can still hear it very vaguely. So I think we can pretty much rule out the potentiometer is the issue. So I don't think the speaker's the issue, but I'm going to measure the resistance. This is a 8 ohm speaker, so let's check that next. Well, as suspected, 7.1 ohms. And I think I even get more if I press on it a little harder. 7 point... it's kind of fluctuating, but it's darn near 8 ohms, so I don't think we got a speaker issue. Okay, maybe it's time to check some voltages on the soundboard. Maybe the soundboard is fine, but the voltage getting to it is not. Looks like test point 7 here should be 12 volts. Same with test point 8 and 9, I guess. Test point 4, I think that means it's ground. Same with test point 7 and 6 are tied together, so that's probably also 12 volts. And then test point 1 up here looks like it is 5 volts. That's probably all I'm going to test. It's the 5 and the 12. It's probably all it gets. So if those voltages are okay, then we'll have to figure out what's next. Alright, I did an oops. I'm trying to find test point 7. And if you guys were keen, you would have realized this already. But if you're a shenanigander like me, you would have discovered that this schematic for an SB100 is not for an SB300, which is what Galaxy uses. So that's why I can find test point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is somewhere, 6 is over here, and there is no 7. So I'm going to find an SB300 schematic. Okay, I kind of haphazardly tested the voltages on the soundboard. I did find the schematic for this soundboard on the Internet Pinball database under Flight 2000, because it uses the same soundboard. I'm pretty sure. I better double check that. Anyway, I didn't really conclude anything. I didn't really do a very good job testing though either, but someone else mentioned this, and I think I am going to try this now. So what I'm going to do is test the continuity of these 4 wires, 2 speaker wires, 2 sound pot wires. I got my lead right here, all the way to the soundboard. So this wire that I'm connected to is like white green, comes out of the connector as purple yellow, and then we're going to follow this all the way to the soundboard, which looks like pin number 1 here, the end pin is purple yellow. So I got my multimeter on, and let's see if I hear a beep. I do not hear a beep. Someone said that they, once upon a time, had the same issue, and the wire was actually broken somewhere along this chain. So, you know what? I didn't press my multimeter button twice, so that's why there was no beep. Let's try again. Still no beep. Okay. Interesting. Let me try the other side then. So that's like white brown, comes out of the connector at straight up purple. Okay, straight up purple. Let's see what you get. Nothing. Okay, I'm just doing this test really poorly, or there's something funky going on. And let's try one more time. Let's go plug this into the speaker at this point here, because maybe my connector is crappy. So speaker green and the yellow, make sure it's connected still here. Okay, green, yellow. Make sure I am in the correct setting. Grab my multimeter here. Am I on the correct setting? Why am I not hearing any beeps? Hold on. It's okay, we're on the correct setting. There is a beep there. I gotta push that hard to get a beep out of that one, but okay, so what color are we on? Green, yellow. We should get a beep right about now. Okay, well, I must figure out WTF is going on. So I'm not going to bore you with all the details. I'm going to actually try and figure something out before I record the next little clip. But I don't know. Are we making progress? Maybe. Are we ruling stuff out? Possibly. Are we getting any closer? Hopefully. Help. H-E-L-P. I think my multimeter's calling out Morse code. I've got one lead in the connector to green, kind of like solid green. The other to green yellow, which makes no effing sense. And my multimeter is sending out Morse code. Figure that one out. Alright, I figured out something. I need to disconnect these connectors from the housing in order for continuity test to happen properly. So, this is green, yellow. Alright, and green, yellow. Boom. Multimeter is finally happy. I said, you're happy. Why aren't you happy anymore? Well, it was happy. But I think that's why I was getting Morse code, because it was still connected. There we go. All right, I think I'm starting to suspect my own work. The crimps here on the wires, I think one of them might not be good. So what I did was connected the two sound pot wires into the connector, but disconnected them at this end so that won't screw up my continuity test. And this wire has continuity all the way back to the connector on the soundboard. This wire, when it goes through the connector, that is, let's just confirm, white green. Comes through the connector here and comes out purple yellow. Okay, I've got the purple yellow wire right out of the connector, and I got nothing. I got nothing at all. But let's take this lead and connect it kind of like right where the wire goes in to the terminal. That may not even work. So I think the crimp job is just bad. So let's see if I get anything there. No, nothing there. So the soundboard situation was worked on before and was hacked. What was the original issue? That is the main question, because they did something to try and fix it. They like tied this wire directly into the rectifier board. So I don't know if that issue is resolved, but I think the issue I'm having now is this terminal is just on really so tight or something that it's just not making good contact through the connector. So I'm gonna bark up that tree for a bit and see what I can dig up. Alright, so I changed the terminal on that wire. Now my lead is here, goes through the connector to purple and connected to my multimeter. Now I hit this wire, we've got continuity. So maybe it was that simple, I do not know, but for good measure I'm going to repin both these connectors, solder the original potentiometer back on, and try again. Alright, I repinned this connector. I didn't bother with this one. We've got two wires going into one. That's always a little bit more challenging, and if it ain't broke, I'm not going to fix it on that one. So that's repinned. The original sound pot is back on. The connector is all connected. And hopefully continuity is all happy. So I think there is a reasonable chance this might work. So if this wire just wasn't making contact through the connector, then that would make sense why the volume pot wouldn't work. So let's listen for some bongs. I have no idea if this is up or down. Let's see, it goes like this. So I think maybe turning it to the right. So in theory, I think that should be high volume. If we start hearing the startup bongs audibly, then we might be in luck. So here we go. That does sound a little louder, I think. I think it does. Get a little bit louder of a hum. Did you hear that? We have sound. Okay, let's start a game here. Can you believe that? Is it for real? Did that really happen? So it starts just like Meteor, eh? I didn't realize that. Look at this. It's not really all that loud, but honey, we got sound. All right. Now we just gotta hope for the Toronto Maple Leafs to win, because they're playing. The hum sounds like a lot louder than the sound effects. You know what I mean, Bern? But okay, so that's what it was all along. My bad repinning job. Unless that was the one wire that Corey did. I'll have to look back. I did 3, Corey did the other. So maybe I could blame it all on London Pinball, but it was probably me. But that is a good time to end this video. We'll turn this down because that's a little annoying. But yay, we have sound. So happiness. Maybe tomorrow I'll get my parts in the mail from Marco and we can rebuild some flippers and some drop targets and be close to the finish line on this guy. That was a battle, but we won. Yay.